Welcome to the deep dive. You send us sources, we sift through them, and we pull out the most important, interesting bits for you. Today, we're diving into an article from neurosignal.tech. It's basically looking at the top games that came out of PAX East 2025.
Exactly. Think of it as your curated look, a shortcut to the games everyone was talking about. Our mission today, to flag the really noteworthy, intriguing upcoming games from the show,
Sure.
stuff you might want to keep an eye on.
Okay, let's jump in. The article kicks off with one called Fresh Tracks. It's from Buffalo, and just reading the description, it's a rhythm-based skiing roguelite set under Nordic skies. That's quite a combo.
It really is that mix of skiing, sword fighting, and rhythm action, all to original songs.
Yeah.
It's ambitious. It feels like part of that trend,
Hmm.
blending genres you wouldn't expect, trying to create something genuinely fresh.
Right, like how does that even work? But apparently it does. The goal is stopping someone called Mar, the Queen of Terror. And it's a roguelite, so you'll be doing runs, learning patterns, mastering the rhythm of it all.
Yeah, that structure encourages replayability. You're not just playing, you're learning, improving with each attempt.
The reviewer even compared it to Hades and Sayonara Wild Hearts. That's pretty high praise, right? Given how good those games are at mixing story, style, and gameplay.
That comparison is really telling, actually. It suggests Fresh Tracks isn't just mechanically interesting, but it probably has a strong narrative element woven in and a very distinct aesthetic. Like Hades made every run feel meaningful to the story, and Sayonara was just this incredible audio-visual experience.
Yeah.
So the reviewer probably sees that level of ambition here.
Makes sense. And yeah, they put it straight on their Steam wishlist, so it clearly made an impression.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, Battle Train. This is from Nerd Ninjas and Terrible Posture Games, published by Bandai Namco.
Ah, yes, Battle Train. This one sounds like pure chaotic fun. A turn-based deck builder, but you're building and controlling superpowered steam trains.
And it's got this whole game show premise. You're competing to be the supreme conductor.
Which is a great hook. It adds that layer of, personality and a clear goal beyond just winning the match. Competition, glory, all that.
Totally. And this quote from Jessica Woodard at Terrible Posture Games just nails it. She asks if you've ever felt the deep and abiding urge to take a superpowered steam train, pack it full of explosives, and run it as fast as you can into someone or something.
I mean, who hasn't? That quote perfectly captures the visceral appeal, right? It's not just strategy. It's about that satisfying destructive release.
Exactly. So the gameplay loop is managing resources, laying down tracks strategically to smash your opponents.
And buying upgrades for your train, making it even more destructive. It sounds like a nice mix of tactics and, explosions.
But here's a cool twist the article mentions. Each map has its own unique cards.
Ah, that's smart.
Yeah. So you can't just rely on one master strategy. The map itself forces you to adapt.
Right. That keeps things fresh. It forces you to experiment, to think on your feet, depending on the environment. Adds that unpredictability that makes roguelites compelling.
Okay, let's shift gears dramatically. We're going into the dark now with Tunnels. It's from Nomad Monkey. This is VR horror. And the reviewer admits they're not a horror fan, usually.
Which actually makes their interest more significant, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If it hooks someone who normally avoids horror, it suggests Tunnels might be doing something really effective with immersion or atmosphere, maybe something beyond just jump scares.
Well, the setup is classic horror, amplified by VR. You're in these tight, claustrophobic caves with monsters. On a MetaQuest 2 or 3...
VR just takes that feeling of vulnerability, that claustrophobia, and dials it way up. You're in the cave, not just looking at it.
The demo sounds properly scary. You're moving through just your flashlight, cutting the dark, and then bam, something's there. You can't see it clearly, it's just there.
And using the flashlight as your main tool, maybe even your only defense. That's great horror design. Limited sight, constant tension, you have to be careful.
Apparently, the reviewer felt paranoid even after taking the headset off, just from the demo.
That really speaks to the power of VR for horror, doesn't it? Creating that lasting sense of unease. It gets under your skin in a way flat screens sometimes struggle to.
For sure. And if you do like being scared, there's a full single-player story coming. Plus, a free-to-play multiplayer mode launching soon. May 15th, actually.
Interesting. So you can get scared alone with a story or get scared with friends.
Misery loves company, I guess.
Oh.
Okay, let's lighten the mood a lot. Next is Let Them Trade from Bite Rockers Games.
Ah, yes. A complete change of pace.
Totally. The reviewer calls it a chill city builder with a really cozy aesthetic. They even compared it to a cute, streamlined
Oh,
civilization.
that chill and cozy is key, I think. It signals it's maybe less demanding, more relaxing than some of the hardcore city sins out there.
Hmm.
And the visuals, woodcraft style, hex tiles, that sounds really warm, approachable.
And get this, when you zoom out, the whole game world is apparently set up on a kitchen table.
Oh, that's charming. That really doubles down on the cozy, almost miniature world feel.
Right, so you're building little towns, setting up industries, managing it all for the king, but on this, like, tabletop.
And it sounds like you can choose your level of engagement, either hands-off or really dive into the micromanagement.
Exactly. Which is great, caters to different play styles.
Yeah, some people love tweaking every little production line. Others just want to see their little kingdom grow. That flexibility is smart.
The reviewer tried making a potato farm town and a lumber town, then connecting them with trade routes. Sounds adorable.
Wholesome city building.
Yeah. And they mentioned liking watching the little units actually move the goods between towns. Plus, there are upgrade trees, the usual stuff.
Keeps things progressing.
But then they hit this surprise tower project. It needed materials but gave, like, no instructions. A little puzzle popped up.
Oh, I like that. Those unguided moments where you have to figure it out yourself, they can be really satisfying. Adds a bit of discovery beyond just following objectives.
Definitely added to the charm, they said. There's a demo available, full release later this year. Sounds quite lovely, actually.
It's like a nice one to unwind with.
Okay, prepare for another sharp turn. This next one is VI Ill, exhumed from Final Girl Games.
Right. And this one sounds like it's tackling some much heavier themes.
Yeah, the article says it aims to capture the struggles many women face. The gameplay involves digging through dark corners of the internet, dealing with unpleasant people to piece together the story of an actress.
So definitely not light fare. It sounds like it's intentionally confronting, using interaction to explore difficult, maybe even triggering subject matter.
The reviewers' reaction was really strong. After the demo, they felt like they needed to wash the grime away. That's potent.
Wow. Yeah, that suggests the game achieves a pretty intense emotional impact. It's likely tapping into some very real, very uncomfortable aspects of online culture or harassment. Games that evoke that kind of visceral reaction are often aiming for more than just entertainment. They're aiming for empathy, maybe social commentary.
Absolutely. The goal, according to the reviewer, is to foster understanding of different struggles. And it sounds like this game makes you feel it very directly.
Games have that unique ability, don't they, to put you in someone else's shoes, even uncomfortable ones. It sounds like VILE is using that interactivity to make a powerful statement.
Definitely one that leaves a mark, it seems. All right, let's switch again. Brace yourself for pig face. From developer Title Loves You, the reviewer called it a grimy throwback to PS2 games your parents probably hated.
Okay. That sets a certain expectation. Grimy throwback.
The setup is just brutal. You wake up, warehouse, bomb in your head, Jigsaw-style voice on comms telling you what to do.
Right. Instant desperation, high stakes, no power. Plunges you straight into survival mode.
And your first job, kill everyone coming to kill you. Simple as that.
So, immediate, violent conflict.
Yeah, it's first-person combat, but compared to stuff like Condemned or Manhunt, very visceral, lots of scavenging for weapons, hammers, axes, guns, whatever's lying around.
Okay, so less about precise shooting, more about brutal, close-quarters survival. That emphasis on scavenging and melee suggests a really desperate, gritty feel.
And yeah, the article mentions it's violent, blood, severed heads, the whole deal.
So leaning heavily into that grim, unsettling atmosphere those comparison games were known for. Intense and probably quite grim.
But after you survive that initial dot mess and rack up a sizable body count, as the reviewer put it, the real story kicks in.
Yeah.
You're basically forced into becoming a hitman. You have to take missions to survive because, bomb in your head.
Okay, so it transitions from just surviving an immediate threat to being trapped in a much larger, darker cycle of violence. That raises some interesting questions about choice, or lack thereof.
Yeah, grim stuff. Definitely earned that grimy throwback label. Okay, finally, let's talk about Nocturne. This one's from Précy Studios, highlighted in the PAX Rising Showcase.
And this one sounds really special.
It does. The first thing mentioned is the graphics. Gorgeous 16-bit inspired pixel art, like peak SNES era RPG vibes.
That aesthetic is powerful. It hits the nostalgia button for a lot of people, sure, but it's also just a really effective style for conveying charm and atmosphere without needing cutting-edge tech. Often signals strong storytelling, too.
Totally. And the premise is fascinating. In this world, when you die, your consciousness gets uploaded to a digital afterlife called Maya.
A digital afterlife.
Yeah.
Okay, lots you can do with that.
Right. So you play as someone who's just died, arrived in Maya, and you're looking for your brother who was also uploaded but is now missing.
That's a great setup. Personal stakes, finding family within this really high-concept world. What kind of themes does that digital afterlife allow for?
Well, the article mentions exploring things like consciousness, what it means to be alive, identity, especially since Maya itself is apparently on the brink of corruption.
Ah, so there's conflict there too.
Yeah, seems like AI control is causing problems, and there's infighting among people with admin powers. Sort of like a classic fantasy RPG plot, but with a tech twist.
That blend of sci-fi concept and classic fantasy tropes sounds really promising. Digital gods and corrupted systems.
And here's the really unique part. The combat is a rhythm game.
A rhythm game.
Yeah.
In an RPG.
Yeah, you have to time button presses to the beat to build up attacks. You can even interrupt enemy attacks if your timing's spot on.
Okay, that's cool. That makes battles much more active and engaging than just picking from a menu. It demands skill and timing, adds a whole different layer to the strategy.
The reviewer loved it. They mentioned catchy music, the beautiful art, and this thoughtful story about life and existence, even in digital form.
Sounds like a winning combination. Style, substance, and innovative gameplay.
They call it potentially one of the year's most intriguing games, planned for early 2026, so a ways off, but definitely one to watch.
High praise indeed. It sounds like it really stood out.
So that's just a taste of PAX East 2025 based on this neurosignal.tech article. A pretty diverse lineup, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. From rhythm skiing to tactical train explosions, cozy building, grim survival, and philosophical rhythm RPGs. Quite the range.
Yeah. This deep dive hopefully gives you a good starting point, a sense of some of the really interesting things bubbling up in game development right now.
It's your shortcut, really. A curated look at some titles generating buzz, saving you the time of digging through everything yourself.
Right. And thinking about all this, it leads to a final thought for you to ponder. We've seen rhythm combat, deck-building trains, VR horror that genuinely unnerves, games tackling really tough themes, digital afterlives. Considering all these different ideas and mechanics, what does this glimpse tell you about where interactive entertainment might be heading? Which of these concepts makes you most curious about the future of gaming?
Yeah, what sparks your imagination about how games might evolve next? Something to think about.
Definitely. Give that some thought. Until our next deep dive, keep exploring.